Real confidence, that Machiavellian kind. It's not loud. It's certainly not aggressive. It's really not about putting others down or trying to show you're superior. It's super quiet, totally solid, and you can't shake it. It's just that feeling of being sure about who you are, what you can do, and what matters to you. You don't need anyone else to tell you those things are true. You really build it by doing things, especially when stuff gets tough. It's also about keeping your word to yourself, being honest, and knowing your stuff. You can't really fake that. You just can't rush it. But we can totally build it. Once it's built, it's yours. So don't wait until you feel confident to actually do something. Just do it, and the confidence will come along. Quit trying to get everyone to like you. Get the nod from folks whose opinions count. Don't shy away from being uncomfortable. Go find it. That's how you grow. You've got to stop letting yourself down. Learn to trust yourself. Just stop comparing yourself to others. You should really only be competing with yourself from the day before. You gotta stop doing that. So, get started, because real confidence isn't a show you put on. It's a foundation. Once you've got that base in place, everything else just kind of falls into line. It wasn't the world that changed, but you. That's some Machiavellian psychology. Now that's what I call real power. And that's how you really gain that solid, unshakable confidence. Also, there's a big difference between being confident and being absolutely certain. You know, it's totally okay to feel confident, even if you're not totally sure about something. It's often impossible to be certain. Confident folks tend to decide even without all the facts. They keep going even when they're not sure what's next. They are okay with things not being black and white. People who aren't so sure of themselves often just wait around for things to be absolutely certain. But that kind of certainty almost never shows up. And while they're waiting, they basically give up chances and personal control. Machiavelli got that a leader has to make tough calls when things are up in the air. Being able to make tough calls when you don't have all the facts. That really shows you're a good leader and that you have real confidence. And finally, this is super important. Being honest really makes you more confident. You really start to respect yourself when your actions match what you believe, when you follow through on your promises, and when you stick to your principles even if it's not the easy way out. When you feel good about yourself, confidence just follows. If you don't respect yourself, true confidence is out of reach. You just can't respect yourself when you're always letting go of what you believe in, just to get people to like you or to make things easier. When you really stick to your guns on something important, even if no one else gets it, you're building a stronger you. Every time you give up on something important, it just gets weaker. Can I tell you something? I really used to believe that being confident meant I'd never get nervous, never have doubts, and always be sure of my choices. I spent years trying to get rid of those feelings, believing they showed weakness. But that's not how it works. Confidence isn't about not being afraid or unsure. It's being able to get things done even with those issues. Now, when I'm feeling nervous before something big, I don't really see it as a problem anymore. I see it as my body preparing me to perform. Feeling nervous and feeling excited are actually the same thing in your body. It's kinda wild when you think about it. The main thing that changes is how you explain to yourself what you're feeling. Confident folks know being ready makes all the difference. It's not about sidestepping work. It's about making us better at what we do. When you've really put in the effort to get ready for a negotiation, a presentation, or even just a tough chat, you'll naturally feel more confident. It's not that you're faking it. It's because you really are more capable. You really get your stuff, I can tell. You've been expecting problems. You've practiced. This is honest confidence, because it comes from being truly prepared. Machiavelli would totally be on board with this. The prince gets ready for war when things are calm, so he's not caught off guard when fighting starts. When you're ready, you feel good about what's next. This could save you years of struggling. Just stop comparing yourself to other people. It's really not helping. Comparing yourself to others is a real confidence killer. You know, someone will always have more money, look better, be more successful. You get the idea. Always. Thinking you need to be the best to feel confident is a trap, because someone will always be better than you. When you feel good about yourself because you're growing, always getting a little better than you were last month or last year, that kind of confidence really sticks. That's the truth. It's true. Confident people really focus on being better than they were yesterday, not better than everyone else. They focus on what they're doing and how they're improving, not on what others are up to. Folks often get stuck waiting to feel sure of themselves before they actually do anything, and that's a common trap. That's not right. You do the thing and then feel confident. You just go for it, and then you start feeling sure of yourself. When you do something, even a small thing, it makes you feel more sure of yourself, not the other way around. Machiavelli would say a prince never waits to feel ready before making a tough call. He just makes the call when it's needed, and that's how he gets better at it. You know, confidence really comes from doing things, getting out there, and just doing them again and again. You're not going to get there by just preparing, planning, and waiting until you feel perfectly ready. We should chat about the voice, too. When someone is truly confident, they don't feel the need to rush what they're saying. They speak up enough. They don't finish their sentences with that rising tone, which just makes everything sound like they're asking something. They talk with purpose, not too fast, not too soft, just right, and they sound sure of themselves. When they speak, even if the ideas aren't earth-shattering, their presentation really makes an impact. This isn't about manipulation. This really is about getting your message across. When you openly talk and sound like you truly believe what you're saying, people are a lot more likely to believe it too. If you talk like you're sorry for sharing your thoughts, folks will just brush you off, even when you're totally right. Machiavelli got that keeping some things secret and not showing all your cards is smart. People who are confident usually keep some things to themselves. They don't typically spill their entire life story to just anyone they interact with. They're not always looking for pity or trying to get noticed by sharing every little problem. They like to keep a few things to themselves. They show themselves when they want to. This isn't about being fake or closed off. Yeah, you gotta get that some folks just don't earn the right to see every part of you. Confident folks definitely know how to set boundaries. They understand there's a clear line between being open to new things and just being totally accessible to everyone constantly. Even stranger, holding back a bit actually makes people more curious, not less. Machiavelli would probably say that to be truly confident, you need to quit chasing everyone's approval. No way. Not everyone's going to like you. Trying to get everyone to like you means you don't really stand for anything. You're always changing who you are depending on who you're with, and that's not what being confident means at all. Confident people know some folks just won't be their cup of tea, and they're totally fine with that. They'd much rather be respected by folks who get them than liked by those who just don't. It sure feels freeing to accept this. When you let go of trying to make everyone happy, that's when you can truly be yourself. Being your real self just draws people in, unlike trying to please everyone. We also can't just ignore how much body language and our physical reactions play into all of this. Your mind and body are connected. When you're slouching, taking shallow breaths and looking down, your brain gets the message that you're in danger and need to make yourself seem small. When you stand tall and take a deep breath, really owning your space, your brain actually gets the message that you're safe and you've got this. This isn't some crazy out there idea. Here's how your nervous system functions. You know, you really can shift how you feel inside just by changing what your body is doing. Confident people just get this without even trying. They use their body to signal confidence to themselves just as much as to others. Yep, Probably after you got through something really tough. When you've come through something you really thought might break you, you pushed past what you thought you could do. You just can't grow that level of true confidence when you're always comfortable. You really only learn when things get tough. Machiavelli got it. The prince needed tough times to grow into a strong leader. If you don't test it, your confidence is just a guess. Trying to build confidence by constantly staying in your comfort zone is totally wrong-headed. Confidence isn't something you get by just hanging out where it's easy and telling yourself how awesome you are. You get there by pushing past what's easy, by tackling stuff that makes you a little nervous, and by showing yourself again and again that you can do more than you first imagined. When you do this, you gain real confidence, because it comes from what you've actually done, not just wishing for the best. Here's another trick I picked up. When you're confident, you just come right out and ask for what you want. They don't even give a clue. They don't manipulate. They're pretty direct. They won't make you guess what's on their mind. They just say what they want, plain and simple, and they're cool if you say no. Getting straight to the point holds a lot of sway. A lot of folks are just too worried about being turned down to ever actually ask for what they want. They just kind of flit about, nudging things, hoping you'll get the message so they don't actually have to come out and ask for something directly. Confident folks get that saying no clearly is way better than a muddled maybe. It's good to get a no sometimes, because then you understand where things are at and can just keep going. Another crucial thing is that confident folks don't really care about the outcome. Machiavelli would totally get this. It's some pretty deep psychology stuff. When you're outcome independent, it means you're doing things because they align with what you believe and how you think they should be done, not because you're trying to force a certain result. You put your request out there, but you're not hung up on whether it actually happens or not. You say what you think, even if not everyone sees eye to eye with you. It's like you can take chances, and if things don't work out, it won't totally crush you. Just why? It's because you're not tying your whole identity to just one thing happening. It's worth remembering that a single setback, misstep, or critique doesn't really say who you are. It truly feels so liberating and strong to think this way. Now let's chat about something that a lot of confidence advice just seems to miss. Adversity can actually make us stronger. It's like going through tough times, but then coming out of them with more resilience. When things are hard, it forces us to grow and learn. True confidence, the real deal that nobody can fake, comes from going through tough times and coming out the other side. Going through tough times and coming out okay. Just think about it. I felt most confident in my life when I took a big leap and started my own small business. The feeling of creating something from nothing and watching it grow was really special. Every step, from sketching out the first ideas to making the very first sale, built up my self-belief in a way I hadn't experienced before. It was all about proving to myself that I could do it, that I had the skills and the drive. That period taught me so much about my own resilience. Arrogance, on the other hand, often comes from a place of insecurity. It's like a shield people put up to cover their own doubts. Someone arrogant might act like they know everything, talk over others, or dismiss different opinions. They often believe they're better than everyone else, which can make them really hard to be around. They might struggle to admit mistakes or accept criticism, seeing it as an attack instead of a chance to grow. It's almost like they need to constantly prove themselves, because deep down, they're not fully convinced of their own value. That's the key difference, isn't it? One comes from a calm inner understanding, while the other feels like a loud, pushy effort to convince everyone else. Well, that's a pretty sharp way to put it, isn't it? It's like when someone acts all high and mighty, often they're just trying to cover up how unsure they feel deep down. You know, that kind of arrogance is insecurity wearing a mask if you really think about it. It's almost like a defense mechanism. Arrogant folks always have to tell you how awesome they are. That's because deep down, they don't really believe it themselves. They need to feel like they're in charge, but it's really just a way for them to feel good about themselves. People who are sure of themselves don't go around proclaiming their worth. You can see it in how they do things. They're secure enough to give credit to others. It takes a secure person to say, "I don't know." It takes a secure person to learn from someone who might have less experience. They aren't scared of other people knowing more or doing well. When you're confident, you tend to be more giving with your time and resources. Being arrogant makes you instantly seem to get that whole social proof thing without even trying. It's okay if not everyone is on your side. You don't need to be popular. It's about having that small group of folks who truly look up to you, and that respect isn't just handed out. You really have to earn it. It's better to focus on doing a few things really well than trying to do a bunch of things and not doing any of them right. Machiavelli valued 3 loyal allies who trusted his judgment over 300 fair-weather followers. It's like, when you've got even a little group of folks who truly get you and show you respect, it really gives you a solid anchor. This is a good reminder that what others say or think doesn't define your worth. The people who really know you, they've signed off on it. So there's this one thing that always seems to get people mixed up. It's interesting to think about how confidence and arrogance are connected, yet so different. Sometimes people mix them up, but they're really on opposite ends of the spectrum. When someone is truly confident, they know their worth and what they're good at, but they don't feel the need to broadcast it or put others down. It's a quiet strength, a comfortable feeling in their own skin. They're usually open to learning new things and recognize that everyone, including themselves, has areas where they can improve. They don't mind admitting they don't know something, or that'll build actual confidence way quicker than any affirmation ever could. Start keeping promises to yourself. It sounds easy, but most folks are always letting themselves down. They say they'll wake up early, but then just hit snooze. They told me they'd go to the gym and then just skip it. They always tell you they'll get something done, but then they just put it off. When you don't keep a promise to yourself, you're basically telling yourself you can't be trusted. You are losing people's trust. You know, whenever you actually follow through on something you told yourself you'd do, even when it's tough or you just don't feel up to it, you're really just showing yourself that you're a person of your word. When you really trust yourself deep down, that's what builds true, solid confidence. Machiavelli got that managing perception was a big deal, but he wasn't about being sneaky with it, smartly. He just knew that how you show up makes a difference. You're not faking it, but when your signals aren't clear, it just makes people doubt things. If you're hunched over, looking away, talking softly, or mumbling, folks are gonna think you're unsure, even if you truly aren't. If you stand tall, look people in the eye, and speak clearly and thoughtfully, folks will see confidence, even if you are nervous on the inside. This is not about lying. It's all about making sure what you show on the outside truly reflects what you can do on the inside. Honestly, you could be really good at what you do, but if you act like you're sorry to be here, folks just won't see how capable. Something a little uncomfortable. When you're needy, it's really the flip side of being confident, and sometimes it pops up in little ways you might not even catch. Yeah, it's like sending them tons of texts when they haven't written back. That just means you're explaining yourself too much when someone asks you something. They always seem to need people to tell them how great they are, or just pay attention to them. It's when you shift your views depending on who you're speaking with. They're just looking for someone to tell them it's okay. These actions just shout one thing: I don't trust my own value, so I need you to confirm it for me. And when people feel that, they tend to back off. They're not trying to be mean. It's just that being around someone who's always needy can be really draining. People who are really sure of themselves, or those kind of Machiavellian types, they pretty much rely on themselves emotionally. They aren't always searching for outside approval to feel good about themselves. They know they matter because they made something real. Skills, Character is what makes a person who they are, the real them. It's how you act, what you believe, and what you do when no one's watching. Experience. What we're aiming for are connections that everyone involved truly values, built on mutual respect rather than a desperate neediness. They still care about what you think and want to connect with you. It just means they don't need it to define who they are. Yeah, there's a huge gap between liking someone's presence and feeling like you need their approval just to feel to miss the point. They just think holding your ground means being stubborn, arguing all the time, and never listening to anyone else. That's not strength. That's not real strength. It's just weakness trying to look tough. If you're truly confident and have a strong sense of who you are, hearing criticism won't make you defensive. It's okay to change your mind when new information comes up. It doesn't mean you were wrong before. It's okay to mess up and say, "Oops, my bad," without feeling like your whole existence is falling apart. It's really about knowing you don't have to be perfect. It really boils down to how well you can roll with the punches, even when you're wrong. Machiavelli really got this on a whole different level. Confident people are okay with what happens. They decide things, understanding that whatever happens, good or not so good, they'll be responsible for it. People who feel insecure often can't bring themselves to decide on things. That's because they're really scared of someone pointing the finger at them if the plans don't work out. They just stay quiet, letting other people take the lead and hoping someone else will step up. And when they do that, they just give away their power. Machiavelli would probably tell you that a leader has to be ready to make tough calls and then live with whatever happens because of them. When you're willing to step up and take responsibility, that's where respect and authority come from. That's what makes you feel really sure. Think about someone most people know who's got that real quiet confidence. Not the showy, loud kind, just truly sure of themselves without needing to prove anything. See how they get around. They make eye contact, but they don't stare you down. They talk at a regular speed, not like they're scrambling to fill the quiet spots. They just unapologetically take up space. They don't go on and on explaining things. They aren't always looking for someone to tell them they're doing okay. They're not always trying to be the main focus, but they're perfectly fine and at ease when people do notice them. This is for real. This is what happens when someone has done the internal work. Machiavelli understood that being confident is about having frame control. Frame control really just means whose perspective ends up guiding the conversation. When you feel confident, you're really working from your own perspective. Your truth as you know it, your standards, what you care about, and what you don't. When you're not feeling confident, it's like you're always trying to fit into what everyone else wants. You're just reacting, not really taking charge. You're looking for someone to say yes instead of actually bringing something helpful to the table. Here's the real talk. Folks just don't have much respect for someone who constantly bends to fit what everyone else wants. People really respect someone who can hold their own. Even if they don't see eye to eye with you, they'll still appreciate that you're not twisting yourself all out of shape. Nobody really ever tells you the real deal about confidence. It's not about getting rid of fear or doubt. Confident people feel fear, just like anyone else. They're unsure, they're not feeling too sure of themselves. But here's the thing, they don't let those feelings call the shots. They get scared, but still go for it. They knew it was risky, but decided to go for it anyway. Machiavelli would probably say, this shows guts, a really smart kind of guts. That's not some wild act of courage. You're taking the shot even when things are up in the air. You can totally train for that. That's something you can build. A lot of folks just assume confidence is something you're either born with or you're not, like a personality quirk. That's ridiculous. Confidence is a really important skill. It's like any skill really, you get better by practicing. You keep doing it over and over, intentionally putting yourself in tough spots, and then you see for yourself that you can actually deal with it. Doing something that spooks you and coming out okay every time, that's like putting money in your confidence bank. Each time you handle criticism and don't fall apart, you're building resilience. Each time you fall and pick yourself up, you're really showing yourself that failing doesn't mean the end. This is how you truly build confidence, not by just saying positive things. It's wild how much of what we see these days is just people faking confidence. You know, it's funny they always tell you to strike a power pose or repeat those mantras, to really picture yourself succeeding, to almost live like you've already made it. Yeah, a little bit of that stuff might make you feel good for a bit, give you some fake courage to get through the next hour. But it's not real. It performs. It's just so tiring to keep up with appearances. You can't keep that going indefinitely. You know sooner or later the truth just comes out. Sooner or later, that old feeling of being a fraud creeps back in, because you know deep down you're just putting on a front. You know, when you're truly confident, you don't need to put on a show for anyone. You just need a good base. Machiavelli mentioned this when he discussed virtue. It's not about being morally good, but about having the capability, the sheer strength, to deal with anything that life throws at you. You really get confident when you're good at something. Knowing you put in the work, that's what it's all about. Nobody can ever take away your skills, knowledge, and experience. When you truly know what you can do, when you've put yourself to the test and made it through, when you've had a setback and still managed to get back on your feet, that's when you don't need to try and convince anyone of anything. You really make a difference just by being here. That's where it all begins. Everything else, confidence, really isn't about trying to make other people believe you're worthy. It's about knowing who you are without needing anyone else to tell you. And that's pure Machiavelli. Machiavelli knew something that today's world really tries to keep secret. Power and confidence don't come from being liked. They come from being solid. When your foundation is solid, what others think, good or bad, just doesn't get to you. The prince doesn't ask for respect. He owns it, you know. It's all in his presence, that solid certainty he carries. There's this quiet knowledge about him. He just doesn't need anyone's permission to be as powerful as he is. Now, I want you to be honest with yourself about something. How much of your day do you spend worrying about what other people think? We should try to figure out how many decisions we make based on whether we think someone will approve or judge us. A lot of the choices folks make are because they're worried about what other people might think. How many times do you catch yourself practicing what you'll say, obsessing over a text, rethinking a chat you just had, or just not doing something at all because you're worried you'll look silly? When you do these things, you're not living with confidence. You are trapped by what other people think. That prison doesn't have any walls you can see. Real confidence isn't bought or sold, folks. It's not about saying nice things to yourself in the mirror. It's not about faking it until you make it. You know, it's really not about putting on an act until you start believing your own made-up story. That is not true confidence. That's just delusion mixed with pure desperation, and everyone can spot it instantly. The kind of confidence that really makes an impact, where people notice you when you enter a room, and your words matter even if you speak quietly, the kind that criticism, rejection, or failure can't shake. That actually comes from a completely personal conviction. Machiavelli really got this 5 centuries back, way better than any of today's self-help gurus ever could. So I figured out what real confidence looks like. I sat there, surrounded by folks with way bigger bank accounts, fancier titles, and more degrees than I could ever dream of. I saw something really cool. You know how it is, the loudest one yammering away, always name-dropping, puffing themselves up, trying to steer every chat. Yeah, everyone just kinda tuned that person out. No one really paid him any mind. But someone else there hardly said a word. He made it quick, right to the point, just like he wasn't trying too hard. Every person in that room leaned forward when he talked. That guy was really confident, and what he said had nothing to do with it. It really came down to what didn't need proving from him.